Live, here we are. JJ, Yanni, the Bet Crusher team, halftime. What's happening, fellas? Happy Sunday, Wild Card Weekend.
Wild Card Weekend. Happy Sunday. Some good football yesterday.
A little
And
excitement
some good
there
football
late
today. Pretty
Yeah.
eventful first half today. We're all on Ravens. We've got Ravens team totals. We've got Ravens -3. I've got Ravens to win the AFC. So I'm a little too heavy
Lamar.
Ravens, I think. But yeah, was
We're all
very
over Lamar.
nervous. Yeah. Yeah, I've got everything tied to Lamar. Was very nervous in the first quarter of that game. Reminded us of a game last year, right? Playoff game in Baltimore.
Yep. Big time. Way too scary of a repeat.
Yeah, definitely. But they pulled it together. Lamar is at 70, 68 yards rushing. Yanni's player prop from his article was 73.5, 77.5. That looks, knock on wood, but that looks to be good. I'm looking forward to the second half. So what have you guys seen so far?
Well, I'm curious to hear if you guys have any potential second half plays or anything you like live, but I'll give you a quick breakdown, my summary here. You mentioned a D-Nice. This game started out as a carbon copy of last year. I got to be honest, like you said, being on the Ravens, I thought that we were just going to see what we saw a year ago. Fortunately, Baltimore got some things going. Obviously, Lamar broke the nice run there and evened it up. So we played a half. We haven't gotten anywhere. But I think if you're Baltimore, you went into this and you see those first few drives and you're feeling not good about what's going on right now. If you're Baltimore, I think you got some momentum on your side. They've slowed down Derrick Henry. They got beat a little bit in the passing game, but I think they're willing to risk that. And also, it's not like they weren't playing well when they got beat in the passing game. They just, great plays by Ryan Tannehill, AJ Brown. So I think if you look at it and you're Baltimore, you got to kind of like where you're sitting. I think you kind of, when we talked about this earlier in the week, we said, are we going to have a repeat? And we said, I don't think so. Or at least I said, I don't think we will. I think Baltimore's going to figure it out. I still do. Obviously 10-10, it's certainly by no means a slam dunk, but for me, I'm probably not betting anything second half. I'm going to stick with the tickets I've got. Obviously, I think Lamar is going to go over his total, which was our big bet. I like Baltimore to still cover the 3 or at the very least push here. So we'll see, but I'm really curious to hear what you guys think or if there's anything second half that you like.
So let's go at the second half lines, and then JJ, we'll get your take on it, and then we'll kick it around the horn, and then we can even talk about the rest of the games today. It's wild, and I guess that's why they call it Wild Card Weekend, Super Wild Card Weekend. We have 3 games here, but second half, it's 3.5 point spread. So Ravens favored by 3.5, almost what the point spread was at the start of the game. I think I saw a lot of 3.5s at kickoff. Over under for the game, 45.5. So we're at 20 right now, 25.5. That's only at FanDuel. I'll pull up Bookmaker also, and I'll pull up some team totals also. But JJ, any early leans there? I'm probably not going to bet too hard into it. I'm going to ride my Ravens, but anything you like?
What do you think about the over as far as right now? You can bet it to 47.5. At DraftKings, it's plus 123. So we're talking, these teams got to put together 4 touchdowns, 4 XPs, or something like that to make this happen. But you're getting paid plus 123. And I think that looks, since I'm already in on the, the -3 on the Ravens for the game.
That's intriguing.
And the team total, if I'm going to follow that same logic, which I'm not really too deterred. I think Yanni's right. Especially what we see coming out of the half, if Baltimore can, move the ball down the field and do it in the way that they like to, which is getting big chunks. And I think this is a pretty good number to go over. Henry's going to break one eventually. Are we thinking that's got to happen, right?
So I'll just say, JJ, I think you're right. If you are looking at the total second half, to me, I think you do lean over on that because, to your point, at some point, you got to think Henry's going to get something moving on the ground there. He's too good to stay down the entire game. The other thing, when you're looking at that over total,
agreed.
Obviously Tennessee is daring them to throw the football. They are basically saying, you're not going to beat us running. Throw the football. Lamar Jackson's actually looked pretty good throwing the football. He's been pretty accurate. He's missed he missed Andrews a little bit on that slant route there.
He scared me on that first pass. It was like, that's not what I want to see betting on the Ravens. But since then, he has put it together, and he's shown me what I need him to show me for the first time, maybe ever, when they're trailing by double digits. This is something I didn't expect. Definitely.
Yep. For sure. It was interesting. Yesterday there was the stat about the Rams that what were they, 36-0 when leading at halftime, something, insane like that. Yes. And they said here that the Ravens are the only team that hasn't come back from a 10-point deficit to win a game. Obviously, they were down here, but I think you got to take that for what it's worth in the sense that this game, it was 7 minutes into the game when they were down 10-0 or 8 minutes into the game. It's not like they were down in the second quarter, third quarter.
Deep by second
10
quarter.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Plenty of time to stay committed to their game. Obviously, again, we're tied here going into the half here. So to JJ's point, you got to imagine Henry's going to do something. Tannehill's looked pretty good, obviously, throwing, and Lamar's looked pretty good throwing. So I think if you are going to play the total in the second half, I think over is the play here, even though, in the first half they only had 20 points.
I agree with it. Let's go second half over and just 26. Real quick.
I'm sorry. 26 and a half at Bookmaker and Bovada as well. So, but you're paying 113 at one place, 120. So if you really think they're going to go over, you can get plus 116 now.
That's what I want to do. Yeah. So let's do. So what's the price at 26 and a half and 27 and a half again?
Yep. I went with 47 and a half. Yep. A live total.
So 27 and a half. And the juice on it is what? Plus what? 120?
113. Did you say, JJ? Plus 113?
It's plus 116 at DraftKings still.
Plus 116 at DraftKings.
They're giving out, for a lot of people, 50% live betting boosts for each of the playoff games. You got to keep it under.
There you go.
Keep it to a minimum. But
there we go. Yeah, I hit the 25 and a half. It was plus 108 at FanDuel, but you can get so that's not bad either. So just look for a decent second half number. If you can get 25 and a half, 26 and a half, I think we're going to see points. I think they're going to move the ball. The Titans actually only have 4.6 yards per play. Does that concern me? Not really, because I think that they're going to keep their foot on the gas. Henry will break loose eventually, and Tannehill can run that play action pretty damn well.
They're making sure that they're running the ball, even though they're not having the success right now. The expectation is that he is going to break one, so that number will loosen up supposedly. If they don't, I think we're good with the Baltimore side. That's for sure.
I agree. And, Baltimore is obviously playing single coverage on both A.J. Brown and Corey Davis primarily. They're trying to say we're not going to let Derrick Henry beat us, which I think is the right approach. Obviously, they have good corners that can match up with A.J. Brown and Corey Davis, but that passing game, I think, is too good to be completely held down in single coverage. I mean, Tannehill's been throwing pretty accurately. A.J. Brown, we know what he can do. Corey Davis hasn't done anything yet, but he could. So, again, I think that over is a definitely worth a look.
Team totals 24 and a half for Baltimore, 21 and a half for the Titans. I know that we like the over overall. You could talk me into both teams over, so that's why we're just going to play the over in the half, because I think both teams could definitely go over. I think up front we expected this game to be something like 31-27, 30-26, something like that along those lines. So let's stick with it, and we're pot committed on the Ravens. And if the Ravens win this game, who are they going up against next week? 5 seed would play
to Kansas City unless Cleveland upsets Pittsburgh.
Right. Yeah. So Pittsburgh, the 3 seed, would go to the 2 seed Buffalo. So we'll break down that game a little bit more. Maybe the live stream at halftime of Saints Bears. But anything for Saints Bears here, JJ? I know that we have the under 48 that held around and hung around 47 for a bit. I saw some 48 and a half today. So over money came in.
Yeah.
Don't love seeing it. Let's hope that Saints defense can just weigh on Trubisky and that there's no garbage at the end of the game.
Well,
it could be a Saints blowout, but we've seen this before. Yeah.
They said Thomas and Kamara were officially in, so that, it seems to be, you've heard some folks that monitor the market pretty routinely that said that this has been an odd year in which you still get this, line moves based off of people being confirmed in or out. Whereas, there were already some, we take a lot of that inside information as far as he's not trending to look like he's going to be in. So that move usually takes place earlier in the week. But this year there's always been at least a half a point or a point when key players are confirmed, what we already presumed. So that might've been a little more of that.
Saints have not covered a spread at home in the playoffs since 2012, I heard, and Sean Payton's 2-6 against the spread at home in the playoffs. Interesting. I think that could be 3-6 by the time this day is over. I think they might blow them out. We talked about it on this week's podcast that, Yanni, I think you were the one that said that the Bears are basically a 5-11 team in the body of an 8, or I completely did that wrong.
Oh, yeah,
shitty team in the playoffs, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
No, I look, I don't think this game's going to be close. And what scares me about laying the chalk here is the back door, right? I mean, what if the Saints are up, whatever, 27-10, and, all of a sudden it gets to the fourth quarter and they just kind of, take their foot off the gas a little bit. Chicago punches one in late. That's what concerns me here. I don't think this game is going to be close. We can take a look, obviously, at the live betting, and I think we're going to probably do this at halftime of that game as well, right?
So, yeah, probably around 6 p.m. or so. It starts at 4:40. So anybody watching now, keep it tuned. Well, not keep it tuned here because we'll be off for 3 hours, but then we'll be back. You can follow it on the Wager Ager Twitter page, YouTube. If you guys retweet, it'll be on the Bet Crusher page. All that stuff can't miss us. But we'll be here halftime of that game, and then I'll be on also for the late game. But yeah, we'll take a look at angles. I mean, if you think that it's going to be a blowout, take a look at some alt spreads. I'm not saying that there's value in it, but I'm saying take a look at what that number is. You might get like a minus 16.5 at, I don't know, plus 200 or so. I'm just pulling numbers out of my ass, but you might have some numbers there, but you do have to worry about that backdoor. I think that backdoor could be open as Trubisky's, scrambling around. Saints defense is like, I don't know, it's 34-10 and we're mailing this in, guys. So that's the part that concerns me about the over and then backdoor cover for the Bears.
If you like live betting, watch that first series. We talked about kind of doing that during the Washington-Tampa game. Watch that first series when Chicago has the ball, first series or two, depending on what you like. If David Montgomery is getting stacked up at the line of scrimmage, the Saints are going to pound this team into oblivion. If he's able to get, he's able to get some yards, if he's able to get 3, 4, 5 yards when he's got the ball, could be a different story, right? Maybe Chicago could move the ball, but I've got a feeling Montgomery gets shut down. They put it on Mitch's back. I don't like that against that Saints defense in the Dome if I'm a Bears fan. So, that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Agreed. Any player props you're thinking of now that Kamara and Thomas are officially in? Should we look at any of those?
I'll just tell you from my perspective, I don't have any player props in that game for the simple fact that New Orleans is a tough prop team to bet because Sean Payton, you don't know what he's going to do. And when you see that team, you got games where Jared Cook kills it. You got games where Jared Cook is absent. You got, obviously Michael Thomas is a question mark. Kamara, I think he'll have a big game, but, it's kind of hard to tell where that's going to go. We could see Latavius Murray, could see Taysom Hill a lot. On the Chicago side, if I were looking at a prop, it would probably be Montgomery's under. And I don't remember what it is. I can pull it up here. It was
60-something, 63.5.
62.5, maybe. Let me
62.5. Yeah,
I think I got it.
That sounds about right. If I play anything for shits, it might be shopping around a Taysom Hill TD prop. Just if he has some BS TD,
spice it up.
Sometimes I've been playing that in random games this year, and I think every time I bet it, I think I'm like 3 for 3 or 4 for 4. Just have gotten lucky if I want some extra action. That spread's moving a little bit. There's 11s out there now. I don't think you can find any 10s, 10.5. Pinnacle's moving right now. It's getting juiced. So that's moving. And if you're going to get an alt spread, you might need to go all the way up 17, 18, and then again back to a color. Speaking of movement, Cleveland Browns right now, we'll talk about this at halftime around 6 o'clock, halftime of that Saints game, but that's down to 5.5. So money coming back in on the Browns. I was talking last night with Coach and Schmidt about, am I going to wake up tomorrow and say, hey, are we overvaluing and giving too much, not credit to this situation, but just overplaying this, Stefanski COVID situation a little bit too much. And, are the Steelers going to run them out of the building? Gun to head. I think we talked about it on Wednesday evening when we were recording. I still think the Steelers could win this by double digits, but it looks like some of the sharper money's coming in on Cleveland right now.
Yeah, I'll be curious to talk about that. And real quick, just bouncing back here. Alvin Kamara, total yards rushing, receiving 104.5. That's very doable. Roquan Smith's out for the Bears. He's probably going to see the ball a lot. David Montgomery, 65.5. So if you do like the under on that, not a bad number to get at 65.5. But going back to your question about Cleveland and Pittsburgh here, it's kind of tough. And to me, the hardest part about this is a divisional game, and you've got a team that has owned the other one, right? With Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Yeah. I feel like if this was not a divisional game and you hadn't had that dominance on Pittsburgh, I would want to take Cleveland in this situation, but I can't do it because of Pittsburgh's dominance over them. And Stefanski, I don't know. I mean, maybe that'll have a huge impact. Maybe it won't. I don't know. That makes it tough. But what I do know is Pittsburgh, if they're playing well, big if, they should dominate this game. Now, obviously, we've seen Pittsburgh lay some eggs and not play well during the season. So because it's Cleveland and Pittsburgh, I'm leaning towards Pittsburgh, especially, I know JJ and I talked, we've got some small, things that we've taken a look at. We're not in heavy on that game, and I don't know that I will get in heavy on that game, but, I think it'll be an interesting game to watch, though. I really do.
I do too. F Pope's asking, what's the top pick for the rest of the day? I don't know if you have any player props. I don't, love it, but I'd say if you're going to take the Steelers, wait to see how far this gets down. Are we going to see a 4.5? I don't know. Shop it around. Go to Sportsbook Review. Just look at all the lines. There's 5s right now. If that gets to 4.5, I do like the Steelers as low as it can get. Just buy back at that point. But any best bets for the rest of the day other than the second half over, which I really do like?
Juju Smith. I like Chubb. Nick Chubb over. I think he gets there. It's only 64.5, which for Chubb is a low number. Obviously, they're factoring in, the scenario, the opponent, all that. I like Chubb. But I actually like Juju Smith-Schuster better over 5.5 receptions. May not have a lot of yards. He didn't have a 100-yard game during the season. However, he's only stayed under 6 receptions once since I believe it was week 7 or 8 or 9. So he gets the 6+ receptions. I think he's going to get there. That's my top pick is taking that Juju Smith-Schuster over 5.5 receptions.
I like that a lot. Chubb, the way to go against the Steelers, you can go up the middle a little bit on the Steelers. So Chubb might have some success there. Look at that over. Digger and Dorsch, thanks for tuning in. Steelers team total 24.5. Don't hate that. Don't hate that.
Yeah.
Over,
right. We're on over 47 for the game. So Steelers are going to have to pull their weight. That's for sure.
They absolutely should go over 24.5. I don't know that they will, but they absolutely should. If they don't, then shame on them. That Cleveland defense, not great, right?
So, good way of putting that.
Yeah, shame on that. Something that I'm going to look at too, and then we'll wrap up and we'll watch the second half. If that gets back to a 6, and even if it doesn't, I might tease the Steelers. Look at what the opening line is on Green Bay and the Rams. I don't know if it's going to be out there before the end of the day. I might tease both games. I don't think Green Bay loses. I don't think Pittsburgh loses. And I had some success yesterday doing that. Bills and the Bucks. Now, did I get a little bit nervous with both of those games? A little bit, but they kind of had those games almost the entire way. I might take a look at that. I don't know what the point spread's going to be on Green Bay. We were kicking it around a little bit, side chat. I would say somewhere around 7, 7.5, 6.5 would sound low to me. Depends on Aaron Donald. And maybe they hold out on putting out that line until after tonight to see what happens with those injuries and not to get picked off on too much teaser action, but take a look at that, I'd say too. So good stuff. JJ, Yanni, great halftime show. See you back here in a few hours. Let's get this second half over. Too. Great audience. Love it. Come back for the rest of the halftime shows. Let's get the second half. Let's get Ravens. And hopefully the Titans are turning the ball over here second half.
All right.
Good, guys. We'll see you in a little bit.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, fellas.